Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means. Let's see if I can do Keith justice here. Front Office Friday! Let's go. It's Front Office Friday. Yes, it's just me today. I am Trevor Lane. Wish my buddy Keith Smith was here, but he's going through it. He's got the flu right now, unfortunately, coming off of his vacation, the cruise ship he was on. He wound up getting the flu. So he's in rough shape today. Feel better, Keith. Wishing you all the best, man, and wishing you a quick, speedy recovery, getting back to full health. His whole family's dealing with it right now. So Keith, I'm sure he is watching, and hope you do feel better soon, man. Can't wait to have you back on here. But I'm here for you guys. Let's talk trade market. Let's talk all the things going on around the NBA, the latest news. Let's get into all of that. And here's where I really want to start off here. It's a concern from an Eastern Conference executive, and this was grabbed by Real GM, about player movement in the NBA under the new CBA. And this is an Eastern Conference executive who says, and I think this is important, one thing the league has loved is player movement. They were very interested in that, and now they have done something that's made it clearly much harder to make a trade. Well, that's absolutely correct. This new CBA has made it much harder to make trades. How are good teams going to navigate through the financial realities of keeping their teams together, said another Eastern Conference executive. Yeah, look, these were concerns. These were concerns with the new collective bargaining agreement. When they unrolled this thing, when they unveiled it, it was that they went too far and it restricted trades too much. And this is an NBA that very much thrives off of player movement, off of trade talks, rumors, all these sorts of things. It makes it a 365-day a year league, just about. I mean, August and September can get pretty dry, but other than that, there's a lot going on around the NBA in the news cycle all the time. Trust me, I know all about that. So they did, I think, probably hurt themselves with some of the restrictions they made in the trade market in an effort to try to punish or nerf the big spending teams, the teams that just have infinite money, like the Steve Ballmers of the world. And so that's going to be something to keep an eye on here at the trade deadline. Are there moves that teams just can't make? I mean, you look at over the last few years, a lot of the trades that went down are not legal under the new CBA. And teams are going to have to adapt and overcome, for sure. Teams are going to have to adapt and overcome and find a way to get this all set. T said, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Yes, please make sure you hit the like button. Let's get a like spike and subscribe as well. So I think this trade deadline, now I've talked about how I think this trade deadline is actually setting up pretty nicely for there to be a lot of activity, because I think there's motivation on the seller side and the buyer side this year. When we talk about the selling teams, the Bulls, the Nets, the potentially the Raptors, the Blazers, the Wizards, all those teams, there's motivation on their side to bottom out, especially with the strength of this draft class. And there's motivation on the buyer's side as well, which there always is, but you've got motivation on both sides. And I think that's going to help. And I think we may get a pretty active trade deadline as a result, but there are new realities in the CBA to deal with. And that's going to be a challenge, I think, for teams that they're going to have to find a way to get past. All right. Mauricio said, front office Friday. That's right. Any trade scenarios where the Lakers can get Fox and a backup center? Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about the De'Aaron Fox situation. And no, I am not just talking. I know I'm the Lakers guy and everything, but I'm not just talking Lakers today. We're going to talk all NBA stuff. You guys know I cover the whole NBA over on the Basketball Bulletin as well. So we're going to talk all the NBA stuff. But yes, the rumor is, this was via Tim McMahon on the Hoop Collective podcast, that the Lakers are among a few teams that are interested in trading for De'Aaron Fox if he asks out. Rich Paul already met with the Sacramento Kings a week or two ago to talk about, what's going on here, what's happening with this team. Do we have a shot to win? That's the most important thing for De'Aaron Fox. He doesn't want to leave Sacramento, by the way. He doesn't want to leave. He wants to stay. But he wants to win. That's the most important piece. He wants to win. His preference would be to win in Sacramento. But the Kings, they're 13-18. They've lost their last 5. I still think there's a bit of bad luck hitting Sacramento. They should be better than this, but My God, what a disaster last night for De'Aaron Fox, specifically for the Kings, but also for De'Aaron Fox. If you guys didn't see it, oh my God, the De'Aaron Fox fouled Jaden Ivey on a 3-point. The Kings were up 3 with seconds to play, and De'Aaron Fox fouled Jaden Ivey on a 3-point attempt. He hits it and won. I mean, one of the most absurd things you will see in an NBA game. De'Aaron Fox had no reason to commit the foul that he did, and now that's another loss for the Kings. So the Kings lose by 1 on an and 1-3 from Jaden Ivey. Insane. But the Kings have now lost 5 in a row. Does De'Aaron Fox decide he wants out? And if he does, he can kind of push his way out a little bit. He's extension eligible this summer. He was extension eligible this last summer, did not sign that extension with the Sacramento Kings. If De'Aaron Fox says, look, I will not sign an extension with you guys, period, then that's that. Then at that point, the Kings have to put him on the trade market. Now, the question is, would they move him at the trade deadline this year, or would they wait until the summertime to potentially make a move? And if that would probably be dependent upon what offers are out there. But the Kings, their number one goal is going to be to add to this team, to go out there, use contracts like Kevin Huerter, use Trey Lyles' expiring contract, use draft capital. They don't want to trade De'Aaron Fox. They want to keep him as long as they can. So their number one goal is going to be a buyer on the market, not to trade Fox. That said, are there scenarios where the Lakers could get Fox and a backup center? Sure, a backup center, the price tag's not going to be super high there. I mean, talk about Valanciunas as an option maybe, but there's going to be other guys. Yes, you could get a backup center. The thing is, for the Lakers, you're probably going to have to go all in to get in on De'Aaron Fox, considering the other teams are rumored to be the Miami Heat, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Houston Rockets. And all those teams, depending on what the Kings are looking for, may have more assets than the Lakers do. So we're talking Austin Reeves. We're talking both your tradable future first-round picks. I know it's been reported that they have 3 firsts, but really they have either 2 firsts or 1 first. They have the 29 first, the 30 first, and the 31 first that they could trade. You could trade any of those 3. You just can't trade all 3 combined. You could trade just the 2030 first, but then you wouldn't be able to trade 29 or 31 because of the Stepien rule. So it's a little funky the way that has kind of been put out there. But yeah, could you get both those things? If you're willing to go all in, we're talking, do you go Reeves? Do you go Connect? Matching salary, throw in D'Angelo Russell, and then try to do something there. And then do the Kings even want that? Or would the Kings prefer an offer from San Antonio? Would they prefer an offer from Houston? And I'll tell you this, if they see an offer from San Antonio as even to the Lakers offer, equal in value, they're going to take the San Antonio offer. They're going to take the Houston offer. They're certainly going to take the Miami offer in the East ahead of a Lakers offer. The Kings fans, they hate the Lakers. They hate the Lakers. They're not going to take a Lakers trade. However, that said, I reported on this a little bit ago. I broke it down for Lakers Nation, and I had a ton of people in the comments saying, oh, this is, clickbait, fake news. It's never going to happen, blah, 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 getting all upset. And I understand it. I understand the pessimism. It's because people have been hurt. People have been burned by this Lakers front office who have sat out for almost 2 years on the trade market. And so that's where the negativity is coming from. But understand, is it likely the Kings would trade Fox to the Lakers? No. Is it likely the Kings will trade Fox at all? No. But this is an NBA where we've seen this happening too. This is an NBA where we've seen this happen. Look, we all would have said the exact same thing. Would the Suns ever trade Steve Nash to the Lakers? Oh, no, the Suns hate the Lakers just as much as the Kings do. And it happened. Now, it didn't work out well for the Lakers, but you just never say never in this league. Again, it is not like there's no trade rumor that comes out that is likely. There just isn't. There's no trade rumor unless it's like, hey, they're in advanced discussions. That's where it changes. But rumors are inherently going to be unlikely to occur. To me, though, and this is the way I look at it. This is the way I look at trade talks and rumors and stuff in general. Personally, I really enjoy it. I enjoy all the endless possibilities of roster building and looking at all the different potential, because there's an opportunity cost to everything that you do. It's not just, is the value there in this move? It's, what does it mean for the next moves that we either can or can't make because of it? And so I think that type of, and I'll be honest, I hate puzzles. I really do. I hate like sitting there and putting puzzle pieces together, but an NBA team, building it, finding the right pieces to kind of connect and make them all fit. I love it. I really enjoy it. So that's the way I look at it. And we're going to report on everything. We're going to talk about all the different rumors, all the different possibilities. So if you're the type that doesn't like the rumors and stuff, just take everything with a grain of salt. Just take it all with a grain of salt. But it's certainly stuff that we're going to talk about. So are there scenarios where the Lakers could get Fox? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They could get Fox. Are there scenarios? Is it likely? No, definitely not a likely thing to happen. Definitely not likely. All right. Oh, we got a bunch of questions coming in. Adam said, how many takes does it take for you guys to film your videos, and do you ever get nervous? Hope you feel better, Keith. Well, Adam, yes, I mean, the last part there, 100%. Hope Keith feels better. Hope we get him back soon. But how many takes does it take to film our videos? I will say that Keith and I have been doing this for years now, and I'm very, very fortunate because I'm the one who edits the show after the fact. I get it posted, all that, put out the podcast side, the YouTube side, making the thumbnail, all that kind of stuff for the show. That's my job. And so I very rarely have to do anything. I'll be honest. On the editing side, it's usually all one take. It's very rare. I mean, I'm talking maybe once or twice a month that I have to go back and edit something. And usually it's a package arrived at the door or something, and the dog went crazy or something like that. Keith and I have a very, very good back and forth. And so it's not something that is very labor intensive when it comes to editing at all. And fortunately, I think I can kind of mix some things up a little bit by cutting to, salary cap sheets and things of that nature to provide at least something there. Now, ideally, if I was like a full-time editor and I'm not doing anything else, I'm not working on Lakers Nation, I'm not working on Basketball Bulletin, I'm making all kinds of cuts and everything in the show, and I'm putting in highlights and all kinds of stuff. But the reality is that in the amount of time it would take me to do all that stuff, the NBA news cycle is simply so fast that there would be more news that would have come out since then. Like, we would have missed our window. And that's just to give you guys kind of a peek behind the curtain. That's one of the challenges of covering the NBA and sports in general, is that stuff that is the shelf life of all of the content is very, very short. I mean, we're talking, if I get 24 hours out of something, that's pretty damn good. For the most part, what I talk about today is dead by tomorrow. That is just the nature of the beast. Unlike if I was reviewing hotels for a travel-based channel, right? If I was doing that, well, somebody 2 years from now, sure, a hotel might make some updates, but they could come along and they could look at my review of the hotel, my footage of it and all of that, and still find value in that. Whereas right now, what I'm talking about today on this show, 2 years from now, nobody's going to come back and watch this because everything will have changed by that point, and all of the rumors and stuff that we're discussing here will no longer be relevant. So that's one of the challenges, and why it's so nice with Keith and I. We really don't have to edit much at all, and I can get stuff out there relatively quickly. And he and I are pretty good at just kind of turning on the camera, turning on the mics, and let's go. So I'm very fortunate in that sense. And do we ever get nervous? I got nervous. I got a little nervous when we did a couple of years ago. We did the studio show like in Vegas at the Wynn. And that was a blast, but it was just such a different environment that I remember in that moment, I was a little bit like, okay, all right, we're going to get the show going, but everything feels different because it's the big time studio. But otherwise, no, being nervous, that went away a long time ago. We do this every day. I'm on here every single day, talking on camera and talking on the mic and all that kind of stuff. So the nervous thing, not so much at this point, fortunately, because boy, I would drive myself crazy. If I was. All right, let me see what else we've got going on here. Do I think OKC lands Cam Johnson? Well, Cam Johnson does seem to be the name out there on the wing market. And I think the positive for the wing market is that there's other options out there. You've got Kyle Kuzma out there, maybe Jeremy Grant. We'll see, what his trade value looks like in his actual market. There's going to be other players on the wing that'll be available. But could OKC, they've got draft capital wise, they've got the ability to get in on just about anybody. I mean, let's look. If the Thunder want De'Aaron Fox, not that they would, but if they did, they've got pieces to go after him. Now, the question is, what do the Nets want? Do the Nets just want expiring contracts for Cam Johnson? Or do the Nets want like young players for the future, things like that? And my guess is it's probably more the latter than the former, but expiring contracts would certainly be nice. But they do have a number of contracts they can stack up, but they don't have a lot of expirings. If for whatever reason the Nets believe that their best bet moving forward is to keep their cap sheet as clean as possible and not have any future salary, that might make it difficult for the Thunder to get into the mix. That said, 3-team trade, off you go. Look, the saying around the NBA is 3-team trades are where deals go to die. It's not entirely accurate because, let's face it, they do happen. They happen fairly often, but a lot of the times it's hard enough to get 2 teams to agree. To get 3 teams to agree, very, very difficult. But the Thunder have enough draft capital to where they can get in on just about anybody. What the Nets want in return, that may be a bit of a challenge, but I don't know. Like, if I'm the Thunder, is Cam Johnson the piece that pushes me over the top? Maybe. He definitely gives you the shooting. He gives you the versatility on the wing. He's young enough at 28. But I think the nice thing with OKC is they have the flexibility to do basically whatever they want. I am so impressed with what Sam Presti and the Thunder have done. It blows me away that when you think about it, the Thunder, they are not a taxpayer this year. Now, that's not going to be the case in the future as they're getting some of their bigger salaries kicking in and all of that. But they're not a taxpayer this year. So think about that. They're not a taxpayer, and they are the cream of the crop in the Western Conference. Like, there is a tier break. It is them and everybody else. There's a tier break. It's the Thunder and then everybody else in the West. And they're doing that while being subsidized by the rest of the NBA. Think about that. The tax-paying teams are paying the Oklahoma City Thunder via the luxury tax to kick their asses. That's what's happening. That's unbelievable. And again, that won't, as this team gets more expensive, that won't be the case, but still, incredible. Absolutely incredible what the Thunder have done. And they've got the flexibility to go whatever direction that they want. Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting question. Trevor, how do you know what topics to talk about when on camera and on the mic? What topics? So, I mean, I'll look through different NBA news. Sometimes I hear things. Sometimes I do. But being a newsbreaker is not my thing. But as far as what topics to get into, a lot of it is just learning, right? Just learning over years of doing this. Where I'll have been with Lakers Nation for 10 years in August. So it's just knowing what it is that people want to hear about, what topics people are interested in. And fortunately, I generally find the things that interest me largely also interest NBA fans and viewers. That's what I've found. If I'm interested in it, it tends to be, not all the time, but it tends to be something that NBA fans are interested in. For example, I did a kind of documentary style breakdown of how Kobe Bryant almost wound up with the Nets and how he ultimately wound up with the Lakers and getting all the, the story behind the story on all of that stuff. And it fell flat. I mean, it just, and I thought, we put a bunch of time into it, put a bunch of time into editing it. And it just, I mean, compared to a Lakers are interested in this trade type video, it just didn't do very well. And I thought, oh, this is one people are going to watch forever and this is going to have a shelf life and all that. Nope. It pretty much did the same as everything else, where it just it was interesting for a day or two and still performed low compared to other videos and then kind of died off. So there are times where I am incorrect in terms of what people want, but yeah, it's something that has just taken some trial and error to kind of learn what it is that people are interested in and what people want to hear about. And I found for the most part, there's always a fine line between giving people what they want and trying not to like over sensationalize things. So when people tune into our shows, I want people to feel like they are getting the truth. I'm not going to make something up. I'm not going to make up, unless I specifically say, hey, on this show, we're doing fake trades. On this show, we're doing fake trades. I'm not going to put out something that's just made up out of thin air. There's always a source behind, and usually it's somebody who is a well-respected NBA newsbreaker, somebody who does this kind of stuff. So, for example, the De'Aaron Fox rumor from today, it's Tim McMahon, right? Tim McMahon with ESPN reported this. Hey, this is what I'm hearing. So that's what I'm talking about, right? I'm not just saying, oh, the Lakers, yeah, the Lakers are definitely interested in De'Aaron Fox, and it's just coming from nowhere. I'm just making it up. So I want people to feel like when they tune into our shows, like we're going to be real with them. We will talk about things. We'll talk about sensational things. We'll talk about rumors and things of that nature while trying to keep things grounded in reality and understanding that this is a league where, while it doesn't happen all the time, crazy stuff goes down. It does happen. Who would have guessed Karl Anthony Towns would be traded from the Wolves to the Knicks right before the season started? Who would have thought that at 2 a.m. Kevin Durant would be traded to the Phoenix Suns? Who would have thought that the Nets, the crosstown-ish rival of the Knicks, would trade their guy, Mikal Bridges, to the Knicks? That's the kind of stuff that when there's rumors about it, people will say BS, clickbait, fake news, all this stuff, and then stuff goes down. It's part of the magic of the NBA is that crazy stuff does happen in this league. It doesn't happen all the time. And most of the time, if there's a trade rumor that you think, oh, I can't see that happening, you're probably right. It probably doesn't happen. But it does enough that people think, you know what? Anything's possible in the NBA. It's one of the things I love about this league. Absolutely love it. That crazy stuff does happen. For all the naysayers that say, oh, this will never take place, sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. Any advice on how to talk on the mic when speaking on a certain topic without having to stop? It's practice. It's repetition. That's what it is. And my background being a teacher helped out a ton because I spent 13 years standing in front of a class of 35, 13 to 14-year-olds, and I had to keep their attention all day talking about history. Most of them don't want to hear about that stuff. So it's that repetition, right? Of having the practice of doing it over and over and over again. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'll tell you this too. And I know we're kind of venturing into a lot of, we're kind of venturing into a lot of just kind of personal stuff here. But when I first started the Lakers Nation podcast, I didn't have the technology to bring on a guest. I could only do a solo show, and that was it. And so that was, get thrown into the deep end, right? And that was a lot of trial and error and a lot of work and a lot of getting better and better and better and improving. So it just takes time. Just takes time. All right. Let's continue on here. Can we fire if they don't make a trade? Fire Rob. Could the Lakers fire Rob if they don't make a trade? Sure, they could. I don't know if they will. I keep falling back on the Lakers gave Rob Pelinka a contract extension after the Russell Westbrook trade. They fired Frank Vogel, gave Rob Pelinka a contract extension after the Russell Westbrook trade. I've said it before. It's one of the worst trades in sports history. And he got a contract extension off that. If that's the case, what would have to occur for him to be fired? So could they? Sure. But is Jeannie likely to do that? Yeah, that's a different question, right? All right. Let's keep going here. What else do you guys want to talk about? Yep. Smash that like button, everybody. JJ said, Trevor, how does it work where you or any Lakers Nation member go cover a Lakers game, home or away, as a media member? How does it work? We're credentialed through the team. And so when we go, like Daniel Starkand, editor extraordinaire, covers all the home games. So he's at every home game for us. Away games we can go to as well. So we're credentialed through the NBA and through the team themselves. And so that's how we go to the games on a press credential. You just go, you pick up your credential at the window. Daniel will have one for the season for all the home games. And there you go. And that's it. And nothing too fancy about it or anything like that. But we're credentialed media through the team. And so that's how that works. How long is the press conference post game? It depends. Typically, the press conference is you get 2, sometimes 3 players will come talk, and the coach. The coach always talks. So for the Lakers case, it'll be JJ Redick. Other teams, it'll be other coaches, but it'll be usually a coach and like 2 players will come talk after the game. And then you can also, depending on where you're at, what tier you're in, they actually segregate media into tiers. But depending on what tier you're in, you can also get in the locker room and you can interview players that way as well. All right, let's see what else we've got. Saw PJ Tucker on the market. Yeah, PJ Tucker 100% is, he's not even with the Clippers right now. Like they would be more than happy to move on from PJ Tucker. They're going to try to use his expiring $11 million and change on the trade front. They're going to try to use that. Whether or not they'll find a taker, we'll see. But it's an expiring $11.5 million contract. They will try to use that as a trade chip. He is 100% on the market. The question is, would any team actually trade for him as a player right now? He really fell off. And credit to PJ Tucker for getting the contract that he did. That was pretty clearly going to extend past his usefulness as a player. But a team could see PJ Tucker's expiring contract as a value in order to move off a future salary. So that's what the Clippers will try to do. They will try to make a move using PJ Tucker and his contract as an expiring deal. Not necessarily trying to get PJ Tucker the player. An opposing team isn't going to call the Clippers and say, hey, man, we're a PJ Tucker away from contending. No. But as an expiring contract, yeah, he will have value on the trade front. So that's what I expect to see them do. Glenn, what do you think about the report that execs are pushing for a 1-16 playoffs? Doubt half of the East teams will vote for it, but the West would be all over it. Think it's time for it to happen. Yeah, I agree. I think it's time for it to happen. And that's the problem is when I say that, my comment will instantly be dismissed as being biased because it's a pro-Lakers stance, right? Because the West and the East, by the way, let's give the East credit. They have balanced things out quite a bit compared to where it was early in the season. You go look at the Eastern Conference right now, you look at the standings, and currently the East now has 3 teams that are below 500, but just barely. 3 teams below 500. It was, only 2 teams, I think, at one point in the East were 500 or above? At one point, it was crazy. But right now, the East have 3 teams that are below 500 that are in the play-in. 1 team that's above 500 that's in the play-in, and that's the Atlanta Hawks. And then you look at the West, and right now the West just has 1 team that's 500 or above that's in the play-in. So, and that's, I know that is still skewed heavily towards the West in terms of the balance of power in the NBA, but that's much better than it was, say, a month ago. So the East has done a decent job making up ground there. Now, the reason why I'm for this, and I think there's some challenges logistically with travel and everything like that, but the reason why I'm for it's not an East or West thing, because it's possible that this will be cyclical. Now, it's not. Over the last 2 decades, the West has been, I think there was 1 year the East posted a better overall record than the Western Conference out of the last 2 decades. The West has been better than the East for a long time. And I'm not talking about just the top of the conference, right? You can say, oh, but the Celtics won the championship. Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about one team. We're talking about the entire conference. So the West has been better than the East for a while. And it may flip the other way. But even so, that doesn't matter. If the East is better than the West and you've got teams that are below 500 in the West getting into the playoffs, that's not a good thing either. That's also not good. What you want if you're the NBA is you want the best teams in the playoff, period. And there are times where we get extreme situations where teams who should be in the playoffs are not, simply because they're in the wrong conference. Right now, the San Antonio Spurs at 500, they would be sitting in the Eastern Conference as the 8th seed. They'd be a playoff team in the East. And then for the NBA, you would have Wemby in the playoffs. That probably matters. But in general, for NBA fans, you want to see the most competitive playoffs possible. What you don't want, and part of this was due to injury last year, but what you don't want is And I know, again, people will claim bias because it's Boston, but you don't want the sense that the Celtics got to buy all the way to the finals. And again, part of that was injury related, but the Indiana Pacers were the Eastern Conference Finals. Really? Like that's, and again, injuries, but they're not really an Eastern Conference Finals team. They're not there yet. And I hope they get there. But they're not there yet. That's what you don't want is the NBA. What you want is, oh my God, we've got the best of the best. Look at these insane matchups. And yes, there would be some downside to this. There'd be some ramifications when we talk about balancing out the schedule. How do you make that even? How much do things change if West teams get to beat up on some of the lower level Eastern Conference teams a bit more often rather than having to play so many West teams? Does that change their record? Right? There's travel, logistics, trying to make that all work. And maybe this is something that when the NBA does expand, and that's coming, gets addressed. But I think bottom line, it's not about East. It's not about West. It's not about sour grapes over the Celtics. It's not about sour grapes over the Lakers being in the West or anything like that. I'm trying to take all of that out of it and think, what do you want as a league in the playoffs? You want the best teams there, period. And the way to do that is to seed 1 through 16. You can still have your play-in tournament, but seed 1 through 16, and then you have the best teams in the league. Injuries will happen. That may skew things, but you're going to have the top 16 teams in the league in the playoffs, and that's something that we've not said in a while. Would time slotting be an issue? It could be. Like I said, there would be logistics to overcome. There would be challenges. It wouldn't be easy, but you could do it. What do you think about the new All-Star format? How is that going to solve any of the problems? It's very, very simple. Johnny, it's a great question, but it's very simple. It comes down to one thing and one thing only. Does it make the players care? Does it make the players care? That's it. That's all that matters. If the answer is, look, you might think it's clunky. You might think it's kind of weird, this whole like mini tournament idea and all that. Does it make the players care? Do the players care about it? Regardless of what we think? Same thing with the NBA Cup. Doesn't matter what we think. Do the players buy into it? Because if so, we're going to get good basketball out of it. That's all that matters for the All-Star game. Do the players care about it? If the answer is yes, then we're going to get a good game. We're going to get good basketball. We're going to get competitive basketball, I should say. That's all that matters. Because right now, the players do not care. The players don't care. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I don't blame the players for not caring. They care about being named an All-Star. They don't care about playing in the game. I don't blame them based on the way things have gone with the NBA and the All-Star game and what it all means and how important they are to their teams and the risk and all of that gets added into it. But if this whole mini tournament thing makes the players care, that's all that matters. That will fix it. If the players care, that fixes the All-Star game. I'll tell you what, I plan a vacation every year during the All-Star break. I don't care about the All-Star game. Why don't I care? Because the players don't care. Plain and simple. If the players care, then the All-Star game becomes fun again. And we can talk about whether the players should care, whether it's a pride thing, whether it's a financial thing, should there be financial incentive or more incentive, how you should do that, all of that. The bottom line, if the players care, the All-Star game becomes watchable. If they don't care, I have no interest in it. And All-Star Saturday night is great. The three-point shootout, the dunk contest can be hit or miss, but oftentimes it's fun. I enjoy all of that. For the All-Star game itself, either get the players to care or get rid of it. Scrap it. It was an embarrassment to the league last year. Get rid of it if you can't get the players to care. That's it. All right, let me see what else we've got here. Mikkel said, NBA viewership needs more accessibility. Yes. The random channels like Bally's, Sportsnet, etc. makes it difficult for masses to watch ABC, ESPN, Disney works. Yes, and perhaps that was part of the reason why the NBA just saw insane Christmas Day ratings. Let me say the other thing. Let me say something else here. Because here's the deal. I talked about it on yesterday's show that the NBA drew these great ratings. I think at one point, off the top of my head, I even just said "suck it, NFL," because the NFL is encroaching upon Christmas Day, and of course they were streaming on Netflix and all of that. And I had people in the comment section saying, "Oh, what are you talking about? The NFL blew the NBA away with their numbers and all that." Since when is success for the NBA beating the NFL numbers? If that's the case, the NBA is never going to succeed. They're not going to beat the NFL numbers. That is not the bar they're trying to clear. They're trying to put up their own good numbers. That's like saying Captain America Winter Soldier was a terrible movie because it didn't beat Endgame numbers. That's insane. Of course it wasn't going to beat Endgame numbers, but it's an awesome movie and it put up really good numbers in its own right. Did it beat Endgame? No, of course not. That's not the bar it's trying to clear, though. That's not the standard that you're setting. It's the same thing. We're looking at the NBA and the NFL. The NBA can be awesome. You can have a great day and a day to celebrate. They're not going to touch the NFL's numbers. The NBA dominates social. The NFL dominates TV numbers. That is not the bar for the NBA to clear. They will never do that. At least probably not in my lifetime. They're never going to clear that. So if that is the bar for success for the NBA, well, all you're going to do is just be negative about NBA numbers all the time. You've been negative about sports numbers in general compared to the NFL in the United States anyway. But so it was interesting that we did see a great day for the NBA ratings wise, and given all the buzz around their ratings and how they've been low and everything, it was awesome to see. And we got great basketball on Christmas Day. We had so many fun games. I mean, a huge win for the league that we saw that day. Now, when Mikkel says NBA viewership needs more accessibility, 100%. It is, let's face it, guys. Let's call it what it is. It's bullshit. Let's just be real. Sorry for swearing, but that's what it is. When you look at what happens, when you look at what you have to do to be an NBA fan, you look at the hoops you have to jump through in order to find your team, in order to watch your team. How many fans are in market and can't watch their own team? How are you supposed to develop a fan base when you can't watch your team? How ridiculous is that? You can't see your team because you're blacked out for living close to your team. It's absurd. It's archaic, and it needs to change. But based on the old rules, based on the old cable style, it's what we're still stuck with. I look at what the MLS did as the model that we would love as a fan, we would love to see all of this go to. And the MLS is a much, much, much smaller league, and they're not tied into all of these TV rights and all of that. But they put all of their games on Apple and stream them all there. Every game. No blackouts, nothing. Pay one fee, every game. At all great quality. You watch any game you want. Anytime it's on, there it is. One place. You don't have to go to TBS. You don't have to go to ABC. You don't have to go to ESPN. You don't have to go to all these different portals. You don't have to try to turn on a VPN so that League Pass will think you're somewhere else just so you can watch your own home market team. You don't have to do any of that. That's the future, or the ideal future anyway, for sports. But we're not there yet. So when you talk about accessibility, yeah. When we talk about ratings being down, how much is the NBA limiting their own fan exposure? And you can say, look, they're getting rights deals. They're getting a lot of money through these TV deals. And maybe that is supporting the NBA. But how many eyeballs are you losing because of it? And obviously the NBA considers it to be a winning proposition because they continue to do it and continue to sell the TV rights deals to these different outlets that may not have access to all of the eyeballs that they want. Obviously that they're getting enough money from it that it is a winning proposition for them. And I'm going to find NBA games wherever they are. I'm going to jump through those hoops, but that's my job. And before it was my job, I was enough of a diehard fan to where I'm going to do it. But you put enough barriers in front of people, and you're going to limit the amount of people that can see the product, especially if you're not a diehard like me or like most of you watching right now. That's going to be the problem for the NBA. It's about finding how many eyeballs you can actually get to and how many people you're actually restricting from seeing your product. Anyway, all right. That's enough of a rant. That topic is one that I think it bothers me. Obviously, it bothers me the way the NBA kind of shuts down viewership, and the NFL has done it too. Like, you want NFL, you want their version of League Pass. I mean, you got to have, what is it now? You got to have YouTube TV. Used to be you have to have Direct TV, right? Like, so it's not like the NBA are the only ones doing it. Far from it. It's not like they're the only ones doing it. But I do think that if you really want to grow the sport, if you really want to grow fandom, and you really want to move into, because guess what? It's coming, a post-LeBron, post-Steph Curry era, and you want to attract new fans, you may have to start to look at how is it that fans are actually consuming the game, and how many fans are not able, who would like to, are not able to consume the game. All right, let's keep going here. What else do we have? J1 said Fox checks boxes of a 1A star and age. However, the fit doesn't seem as clean as CJ for LA. What, CJ McCollum? Oh, these players could coexist. Who's LV that we're talking about in this? Levine. Oh, Zach Levine. I'm like going, whose first name starts with an L and ends with a V? Zach Levine. Or CJ for the Lakers. Also, could Levine or CJ coexist with Austin Reeves? Unlike Fox, I would assume if the Lakers are getting De'Aaron Fox, they're giving up Austin Reeves. I can't imagine they'd be able to do a trade without him in that deal. I'd assume you would have to give up Reeves. But is he a better fit than Levine or CJ McCollum? I mean, I think I would go I tend to look defense first. I think Levine and CJ McCollum are worse defensive players than De'Aaron Fox is. So I wouldn't like that fit. And you can make the argument Fox is not a 1A star. Yeah, Fox is he a 1B? 1A adjacent, maybe? Something like that? Like, is he, obviously the Kings have had their struggles. Is he putting the team on their back and dragging them to the playoffs? No. And that's what a 1A star is. That's Giannis. That's Luka. That's prime LeBron. That's all those type of guys, right? Jokic, obviously, more names that we can throw out there. But these are guys who are going to put the team on their back and drag them to the playoffs. That's not what Fox has done with this Kings team. But that said, he's also, I know he's a one-time All-Star, but let's face it, he's better than a typical one-time All-Star. I think some of that has just been the circumstance of being in the West and the guards that are in the West and all of that. I like De'Aaron Fox a lot. I think he's very good. Let's go here. 3-team trades. Sabonis. Oh, the Kings are trading Sabonis now too. Oh, Sabonis back to Indy. Sabonis and Connect to Indy. D'Lo, Rui, Toppin, Mathurin. Holy moly. And Indiana first. And an LA first to Sacramento. Miles Turner and Malik Monk to LA. Whew. Oh my goodness. So I don't have all the math on this, and I don't want to punch all of this into the trade machine because that'll take up a good chunk of the show. But so the Pacers are getting Sabonis and Dalton Connect, and they're giving up Obi Toppin, Benedict Mathurin, and a first rounder. Pacers fans may feel differently, but to me, Sabonis is really, they know Sabonis, and you're getting Connect. I feel like that's pretty good for the Pacers. Sacramento is trading Sabonis and getting back D'Lo, Rui, Obi Toppin, Benedict Mathurin, and a first. Oh, and 2 firsts. Okay. And you'd have to assume in this scenario, they would be trading De'Aaron Fox as well. Like, this is you're going to tear it down and you're going to rebuild. Because D'Lo, he doesn't fit with Fox. And Fox, D'Lo, how's that going to work long term? It's not. D'Lo's on an expiring contract. If that's the case, do they even want Rui Hachimura, who's got another year under contract? Obi Toppin. So really, you're getting the value to Sacramento would be Benedict Mathurin and 2 firsts. That's what you're getting for Sacramento. And then now you're also giving up Malik Monk, though, too. So, you might as well. If you're doing this, if you're Sacramento, burn it to the ground. trade Fox, get all the future assets you can get. Miles Turner and Malik Monk. So the Lakers would be giving up D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, and a first, and getting Miles Turner and Malik Monk. Oh, and they're giving up Dalton Connect. So that's essentially like 2 firsts. Maybe a little too good for the Lakers. I think you could argue that Miles Turner alone would take a couple of firsts to get. But yeah, not bad. Not bad. But again, this would take the Kings going, we're done. We're out. Let's tank. And I don't think the Kings want to do that. They missed the playoffs for 17 seasons. I don't think they want to do that. So value, maybe. But in terms of what the teams actually want, I think it would take something very drastically changing in Sacramento for them to go with this. All right, this question said, and DeRozan as well. Yeah, DeRozan as well. Do you like Dennis Smith Jr. for the Lakers if they open up a spot? Would you be willing to send all picks plus Austin Reeves, D'Lo, and Connect for Fox? So you may have to be willing to if the Lakers were to get De'Aaron Fox. And I know we've talked about that a lot on this show, but I think that's because it's just me here and not Keith too. So we're getting a lot of Lakers questions. But yeah, I mean, Dennis Smith Jr., I like just fine. I liked him in the draft. In fact, I think I picked that he was going to be Rookie of the Year that year when I think it was the Mavs got him with the 9th pick in the draft. Didn't work out that year for him, but I wouldn't mind him as just a solid reserve guard to go turn to. Would I do it like the true all-in trade? Reeves, Connect, all the picks for plus D'Lo's expiring for Fox? You might have to consider it. I mean, Fox is really damn good. Fox is really good. You'd have to consider it. Sandman said everyone but Kings fans knew DeRozan doesn't fit with them. I mean, when you dig into the advanced numbers, it's not even so much DeRozan. Like that's what everybody goes to because he's the big, bright new piece that's come into the team. But it's been like Keegan Murray's jumper has gone MIA. Kevin Huerter, his jumper went MIA. Like some of the things that the Kings were doing, and I'm not saying it's been a perfect fit for DeRozan, but there have been some bigger problems on the Kings than just DeRozan. Again, the fit has not been great. The Kings kind of went all in on offense and just kind of leaned into we're going to be this great offensive team, and we're not going to worry so much about the defensive side of the ball because that's not really what we are anyway. And that's just not really what they've been able to accomplish. I mean, you go look at where they're at right now. Offensively, they're 8th in offensive rating, which is really good. They're top 10 in offensive rating. They're 16th in defensive. I mean, I'll be honest again. I think there's some bad luck hitting the Kings. If you're 8th in offensive rating, if you're top 10 in offensive rating and middle of the pack in defensive rating, you should not be a play-in team. You should not be on the outside looking in of the play-in. I think there's some bad luck hitting Sacramento, but they were banking on being a top 5 offense, and they're not quite that. And I think that's part of what's holding them back. But again, when you look at the numbers, man, it feels to me like there's reason to think the Kings will have some kind of a bounce back coming, but hasn't happened yet. Isham, are the Pistons serious or just lucky? Well, they were lucky that the Kings were dumb. De'Aaron Fox himself was, I mean, just a crazy play. I mean, absolutely ridiculous what De'Aaron Fox did last night. There was no reason to close out the way that he did on JDM. And there was no reason to be off of him to begin with. In fact, here, let me see if I can pull that up because I actually have the video clip of it. Let's see. Yep, there it is. All right. So this is what happened. Now, are the Pistons series just lucky? I think on this play they got lucky because watch what happens here. Watch this. Here's the Pistons, right? They're down. By the way, they're down 3 at this point. Pistons are down 3, and they need a 3 to tie it. There's seconds left in this game. This is Malik Beasley. Watch what happens here. Look at Fox. Look at Fox. Why is he 6 feet off of Jaden Ivey? Who cares if Jaden Ivey back cuts you because you're too close? Who cares if if Malik Beasley gets a step and gets to the rim? You should be inviting the Pistons to take a 2. There's like 5 seconds left in the game at this point. Who cares? De'Aaron Fox he fell asleep. He fell asleep right here. And then watch what happens. And then he compounded the mistake. Watch this. Right? There. So he rushes out. He's going to try to do like maybe a flyby, which maybe that's your best case scenario right now, is that you just do a flyby. You already blew it by being off of Jaden Ivey for no reason. And then you go to close out, and look at what he's doing with his arms. So Jaden Ivey jumps into De'Aaron Fox and gets contact. He gets the and one here, but not before De'Aaron Fox. Look at his arms. He reaches down and he grabs Jaden Ivey's shoulder. What's your best case scenario there? Because you're intentionally committing a foul right now. You're reaching out and grabbing him. Your best case scenario then is that he does not get the shot up and you're giving him 3 free throws to tie the game. Rather than, I'm going to fly by and at least make him make a tough, under pressure 3. Instead, he fouls him. And then, look at this. Ivy, boom, and 1. Ivy makes the free throw. Kings lose. That is lucky for the Pistons, that De'Aaron Fox completely lost his mind. That's lucky for the Pistons. But do we chalk up what the Pistons have done on this road trip? They beat the Suns, they beat the Lakers, now they beat the Kings. Is all of that luck? No. And I give the Pistons a lot of credit for playing as hard as they are. And I'll tell you the one thing that's really impressed the hell out of me, and it doesn't necessarily show up in all of their advanced numbers, but their transition defense is phenomenal. I mean, they look like they teleport out there. If there's a turnover, but suddenly just they like magically appear. 5 guys are back every time. And part of that is, yes, my Lakers are terrible at transition defense. So that really stands out to me. But it's incredible the way they get back, the athleticism that they attack the game with, the effort they play with the entire game. They're playing hard. There's no let up from them. So no, I don't think the Pistons are just lucky. They were lucky in last night's win that the Kings made an inexcusable error. But in general, no, I don't think the Pistons are lucky. I don't think they're lucky. I think this is a team that's competing. They're better than they used to be, and it's just going to take a little bit of time for people to catch up to that, because we still hear Pistons and we think, oh, tanking team, easy. All right. Let's do a few more. Oh, here. Mike Brown ripped his team after the game. He said that he literally told his team to foul. Yeah, I mean, they should have found that before even getting to the De'Aaron Fox part of it. Like, if you're Sacramento, again, you're up 3, and if the strategy is to foul, great. Why don't you foul right now? Why are you not fouling now, right? Commit the foul there. Or look, right here on the cat, Malik Beasley had his back to the basket for a moment. Go commit the foul there. Right? Or as Beasley takes a step inside the 3-point line, as he takes a step inside the 3, foul him there. Foul him right here while he's on the line. Now, that said, it's easy when we're going slow-mo. We've got the ability to stop. It's much more difficult on the court to make those decisions, right? Much more difficult on the court to make those decisions live as the game is happening. Easier for us to sit here after the fact and point out, oh, they should have done this, should have done that, all that. But that's pretty egregious. If your coach tells you you need a foul and then they just don't, that's not good. Is he on the hot seat? Yeah, probably. And he was the coach of the year, 2 years ago? Is he on the hot seat? Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Sacramento right now to win games, and they're not. Again, the numbers tell us that they should be, their record should be better than it is, but they've lost 5 in a row. And at some point, either the numbers are going to shift the other way or they're going to start winning games. And right now, I think we're kind of at that pivot point for the Kings, and we'll see which direction their season goes. All right, everybody. Final comments here before we call it. No good trades out there for the Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to be extremely active on the market. I've talked about this. The Warriors, They've got expiring so many teams right now want expiring contracts on the trade market. And you look at what the Warriors have, they've got so many of them. They were smart in the way they did the Dennis Schroeder trade. That allows them to re-aggregate him in a deal right before the deadline in terms of the timing of it when they got it done. So they've got an expiring $13 million in Schroeder. If they decide that simply didn't work out, maybe you can flip him into a Jimmy Butler trade. I don't buy Miami saying we're not trading Jimmy Butler. You're not trading Jimmy Butler until you get the offer that you want. And at that point you say, hey, we got an offer we couldn't refuse. Today, you're not trading Jimmy Butler. Tomorrow, that might not be the case, right? And then if it doesn't come to fruition, you can say, oh, see, we said all along we weren't trading Jimmy Butler. Gary Payton II isn't expiring. Kevon Looney isn't expiring. Jonathan Kuminga is not only an expiring, but he's a young player with value. I really think, I think the Warriors are going to be in the thick of all the big moves. And they're going to be a real threat to make a big move. They're going to be a real threat to make a big move. The Warriors are. I would be surprised if the Warriors go through the trade deadline and don't make a move. I'd be surprised. They've got the pieces to do something. Doesn't mean they're going to get a star, but they've got the pieces to do something. All right, everybody. Glenn said, any plans to bring Jovan on a show for Lakers Nation? Yeah. He's been on a few times before. And we've talked about it. In fact, we've been meaning to have him come on for the last couple of weeks, and we just haven't had the timing right and the schedules right and all that. But yeah, for sure, we'll have him come on again. All right, everybody. I do appreciate all of you for joining once again. Get well soon, Keith. Obviously, you guys know I love talking NBA. I love talking basketball, whether it's on Lakers Nation, Basketball Bulletin, here on the Front Office Show, wherever. But it ain't the same. It ain't the same without Keith. It's doing the show without Keith doesn't feel right. So get well soon, my friend. I hope he does get well quickly. Again, he was texting me earlier today. He is not feeling good at all. So I really hope that he's able to recover quickly and feels better. And then hopefully we'll be back on Monday. But again, thank you guys so much for joining me here for Front Office Friday. The show went on here, even though Keith was not, and Keith's done some shows without me and everything, but I miss my friend, and hopefully we'll see him back on Monday. But thank you again, everybody, for coming in here and joining. Appreciate all of you. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.